Righty.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another Misfits Hobby Hump. I'm here with James. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you, John?
I'm good. We got snow here in South Carolina. Pretty crazy. Never snows here.
Really? We don't got snow. We got like ice weather out here, but thank God it hasn't been like precipitous, like with the rain or whatever. But Houston is getting it from what I'm hearing.
Oh yeah? I
Yeah,
saw there was snow in Florida.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
I don't know. We have the planets aligning and it's snowing in the south. What's going on?
Yeah, and we got Lou TV.
You made it.
I made it. It's freezing over here, bro.
We were just talking
36
about that.
degrees, dude.
It's freezing here too.
Oh my gosh. My
Hey, your
daughter,
audio's a little bit low. I don't know if you can adjust it or not.
my what?
Your audio?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I can get out and get back in and see what happens.
you got to stop shopping at Radio Shack.
You still got Radio Shacks, bro?
Yeah.
This new setup.
Oh, it's okay if you can't. If you can't adjust it.
I don't know how you adjust
So how about this idiot that didn't vote for Ichiro?
Oh,
Should he be banned from voting ever again?
The thing is, it's anonymous. No one knows. They do this all the time. It wasn't surprising. The biggest shock is that Rivera, and the only argument I could do is that Rivera was so dominant at such a new position, relatively new for the sport, that there was no doubt about it. Like, who else is better than Rivera? He set the standard. You could argue like Pujols is the next no doubt about it, right? Or
yeah.
is it maybe? Either way, they should be getting 100%. But you could argue who's the better first baseman in the history of baseball. So I don't know. It is what it is. That's why we like sports. I mean, one of my favorite stories is the look on James' face when the first time me and John were in a bar talking sports, drinking.
At the National, Jeremy Lee joining us when we were hanging out. That was fun.
Yeah, we just rode into town after a 10-hour drive or something.
Yeah, and then we closed that bar down, all four of us.
How we do it, bro.
Or we're getting into arguments about Charles Woodson or
Oh.
Rob Woodson. Sorry. Rob Woodson or Deion Sanders. That was fun.
Good times, man.
So, James, you have a Ichiro card you wanted to show, huh?
Oh, I gotta show it off, baby. Ichiro was so great. He was a Yankee too. Both were Yankees, man. I gotta show this off real quick. My Ichiro rookie that's autographed. Woohoo! Congratulations, Ichiro, for getting in.
I gotta ask, because you're on both sides of the aisle now. Is that for sale or is that PC?
That's PC right there. That's PC. And then CC, my other Yankee.
That's a sick patch, bro.
That's an Indian garb, but it's got 4 colors. It's not often you can see 4 colors on a patch.
That's dope.
So congratulations to CC and Ichiro for doing their thing. Yes, and Billy Wagner too.
You know, one of my favorite Ichiro cards was the gallery Japanese version.
Nice. Yes. Show the back. Show that lettering.
I got this back in 2001 when he was a rookie. It's been in this top loader ever since.
Mm-hmm.
But they have the Japanese lettering there.
I love that one too. That's a short printed, right?
Yeah. I don't know how short printed.
It's definitely more short printed than nowadays.
Lou, stand closer to that microphone, man.
I don't know what I'm doing. Is it better?
It's that new setup your son gave you.
Yeah. Put it in stereo.
Is it like delayed or something or what?
No,
it sounds muffled.
Really? All right, let me get out.
I got the chats. Welcome to the dads are here. Bink Scott, Godlike Collectibles, Lou, Rachel V, Gone Fishing, Peter.
Rachel V. That's the
Lou,
white.
you ready to sell me that Orlando
Orlando.
Cepeda yet?
Which the better?
That one he bought from James at the National.
No, I didn't buy that one. I already had it better. That was
You bought that one.
godlike. That was the
No,
other
oh,
Lou.
I'm talking to Godlike Collectibles.
Uh,
That
uh,
Lou.
I was like, I'm the OG Lou. That's me, Lou.
Lou squared up in the place. What happened? What happened?
I think he's trying to fix his audio. I'm really struggling to hear him.
Yeah,
And
he was on. He had Caesar on Pepino Man on his, and he sounded muffled there too. So it must be a little bit with the setup.
Yeah, and Pepino's always way louder than everybody else, so it was driving me insane listening to them. I was getting a headache.
I was at work, and it would be like Lou up here and Lou down there. I mean Caesar up here, Lou down here. Yeah.
Yeah. So anything going on in the card selling world, in your world?
I just did the Dallas card show, and that was fun. And I was with my friend Bill, who did that $2 million buy with a few guys together. So he put out a bunch of that stuff he had with the hall, and a lot of it was Americana stuff like George Washington, Lincoln, Wizard of Oz, Disney, like all that type of stuff. He put out a bunch of Ty Cobbs. I was just shocked. Like the Americana stuff was like moving by the busload.
Is that right? Well, tell me more about this $2 million haul. I didn't hear about this.
So Alex, who used to own the collection, he's been like a collector for like 30 years. And he's the type of guy that when there's a deal that's too good to pass up, he's always on top of it. He knows his price points. So he's always scooping up even like 20 of the same items because the deal was just too good. So he'll have multiple copies, various grades of cards spanning from, the pre-war era all the way on up, all the sports, tennis, Jesse Owens, golf, you name it, he has it. And a lot of what he had, which I was learning from, was the Americana stuff with the presidents, with the generals like General Lee, the Indians, like just so many obscure stuff. And other dealers were coming up to us and buying like 30, 50 slabs. And he was selling them because he, made a good profit on that. So he was able to give it at them to a deal where they could still make money on it. So they were
where did that $2 million fine come from?
Well, all right. So I'll give you a little more backstory. Alex used to set up in his spare time at shows, but he's not like a serious dealer. So he sometimes like would put out his stuff, and it was almost like showing it off because he had like prices that were a little bit high there. But and not a lot of it was sales, so he would like be stuck with all this stuff back and forth. But he did it for the passion. He would buy a lot at the shows and add to the collection. But eventually, I guess he figured that there was no reason for him to continue this because he wasn't that experienced with it. So he decided to sell it off and just use the money for his family to have fun with it. But Bill was there. They became friends. He almost sold it to Ash, but that didn't work out. And then Bill was like the next man up, and Bill was able to solidify the deal along with Jeremy and Chris, who were like partners in it. And they are all, they all have it together.
But it was worth $2 million.
Yeah. Not like it could have been like 2.1, 1.9.
Holy cow.
But it was a lot of high-end pop ones, stuff like that, but obscure stuff, like the stuff that you like, because you
mean like PSA 10 pop one?
No, it'll be like a PSA 5, but it's the highest graded one, because it's obscure, things of that nature, but stuff that you don't see a lot of.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they bought the collection, and I happened to be with them, working the booth and selling this stuff to them. And as I was setting up the cases, I would just look at like, we're gonna do one case with just Pele and Jesse Owens, like two of the goats of the sports, just one case, because there was so much of that stuff. and then he'll be like, all right, that other case, let's just do presidents. And it'll just be a whole case stacked up, like same brand, same sets. It was pretty cool. I was like in awe at half of this stuff, but I had to like handle it quick because, you know, when you're setting up, you got to set up within an hour. So I couldn't really handle these things so often, but I did take time to admire a few of them. And, you know, Ty Cobbs. One case was dedicated to just Ty Cobbs and pre-war. He had like 20 Magic Johnson, Larry Bird rookies with Julius Erving, like 20 of them, like 3 rows. Like it was nuts. Like one dealer came by and bought like 10 of them. Jim Brown rookies, he had like 10 of them all like fanned out. It was just crazy.
So how was the show? Was it busy?
Oh yeah. It was.
Is the hobby dying?
No. People were waiting for like the Trump to get office again, and everyone was spending money. I don't know what the hell to make of it. People got bar mitzvah money or bonuses at the end of the year. I don't know what it was, but the hobby is alive and well. That's all I could tell you.
That's interesting because I've been buying some big cards, you know, in November, December, and I was telling my wife, like, I get such great deals around the holiday. It's like nobody's buying, everybody's, you know, giving you best offers, or you make an offer that's low and they accept, you know, for the most part. Just been getting stuff, I think, for great prices, and stuff I'm seeing, you know, isn't moving, like great stuff. Yeah. So that's interesting. That's great to hear.
Yeah, and look at the troll over here, Rick.
Yeah, he should be on, but instead he just wants to make comments, right?
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't do a trolling with a slab and etched it in with a hammer and a chisel.
So Lou, talk to us. Let's see how your audio is.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, that's way better.
I had to go with my cell phone, so I'm on my cell phone. I'll figure out the mic setup another day.
So when you go into StreamYard, you know you can adjust the volume.
That's what I was
you can't do it when you're on here, but before you go live, you can adjust it.
Yeah, well, I'll play with that another day.
It's odd to see you without a bourbon on one of these.
And I work tomorrow. I got to wake up at 4:30 tomorrow, so I just
That's
couldn't
rough.
hear anymore. Me and James are holding it down. The Misfits are just a 2-man team. So I came rushing home from soccer.
So did the Hall of Fame go the way you thought? I was expecting CC and Ichiro to get in, and I thought Billy Wagner had a good shot, but I wasn't sure if he would get in.
Yeah,
and I didn't think any of the others were going to get in, even though I like some of them and wouldn't mind seeing them in there.
Yeah, the biggest surprise to me, honestly, was Beltran. Like, Billy Wagner was matriculating the last couple of years, and every year people argue for why he should be in. So just like paper cuts, it just gets easier to vote for him. So I knew he was getting in, especially talking to Jake and Dom all the time. But the biggest surprise was Beltran. I talked about this a little bit in my video. That the Hall of Fame has always been pretty consistent with people who have been known cheaters, people who have been known to mess with the integrity of the game, like the true essence of the game, be it gambling, be it PEDs. I mean, here you have a whole team that had admitted to cheating. And all of a sudden, I mean, it's not like we're far removed from it. It's 2017. And, you know, they're like, oh, he's been punished enough. He didn't, you know, he didn't get in this year or the year before. But it looks like, I mean, next year, 2026, the biggest name is like Nick Markakis. There's like nobody on the 2026.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah. It's a super, the incoming class anyways. There's going to be holdovers from this one.
Yeah.
But the headliners are going to probably be Beltran and Andrew Jones. There's really no one coming up for 2026. And 2027 is the biggest name 2027 is Buster Posey. And then after that is the big boys. I think Miggy's eligible.
and after that is Pujols. So
Buster Posey first ballot.
well, if Joe Mauer is, then I always enjoyed Buster Posey. I mean, I put a lot of significance on playoffs too. That's why I was surprised. I mean, Schilling for other reasons, but playoffs to me is when you're playing the cream of the crop. That's the high leverage, high pressure situations. When you think of, players, you tend to go to the playoffs, championships, those key moments. Like when you think Luis Gonzalez, he ain't no Hall of Famer, but when you think Luis Gonzalez, what do you think of? The bloop single off of Rivera. Like those are the moments you think Schilling, you think bloody sock. Or when he came in, Randy and Kurt Schilling, they both started 2 games. Randy started the 3rd and Schilling came in relief, or was it the other way around? But either way, co-MVPs of the World Series. That's what you think of. You don't think about, was he Billy Wagner? Like, there's nothing memorable about Billy Wagner. Everyone's like, oh, he has the greatest whip of all time. But if you're beating up the NL Central, you're playing the Mets all the time. Like, who cares?
Yeah, but do you think postseason should matter one way or the other?
Well, I mean, it's all about numbers, right? I think, Baseball Collector told me, he's like, I don't think it should be counted. For instance, Mike Trout, he has no playoff resume, really. I think he played in 1 series. But he was so elite, like, I'm not going to hurt him. I mean, 3 MVPs, 400 home runs. But if the numbers are there, if you were great in the regular season, but did dilly squat, I mean, if there was a sample size, which Billy Wagner has, he has like 7 seasons of postseason play, and you got 10+ ERA, like not one time you showed up in the playoffs, that matters to me. I'm not saying
so Aaron Judge
scrub.
Can't get in?
Huh?
So Aaron Judge can't get in?
Right now? I don't even want to talk about it.
I'll tell you what, though, what I
but
feel.
2 MVPs, you know what I'm saying? That's he should have 3. But I mean,
I'm just busting your chops because he's your guy.
Those things matter. But I mean, Billy Wagner doesn't have the hardware, is my point. Like, there's nothing that he did in the regular season that was so paramount. Like, K-Rod has 62. Like, Eric Gagne. Eric Gagne was crushing cats. Him and Barry Bonds that at bat, Cy Young.
Yeah.
Those are memorable moments. Billy Wagner has 2 seasons of 40+ saves. That's going to put your feather in.
Who do you think was better, him or Bobby Thigpen?
Bobby, give me Bobby. John Franco.
I'll just tell you one thing, though.
Bobby Thigpen was good.
Yeah, he was good.
I think that playoffs helps create, like, boost your legend. That's what I think the playoffs.
Yeah.
It did it for Reggie Jackson, missed October.
Absolutely.
Sabathia, everyone pointed to his Brewers when he got traded. And
2008.
He was a beast. Beltran, when he got traded to Houston, was a beast. He hit home runs that whole playoff, left and right. Like, playoffs. Like,
that's not what helped them.
Even if you're not a Hall of Famer, it makes people, like, memorable. Like Mark Lemke. I'll never forget Mark Lemke hitting 750 for the Braves. Like,
he always brings that up.
Sid Bream, baby. Sid Bream. But that's my point. That's the argument for a lot of people. Playoffs should be like the cherry on top, the icing. And I get it. But when you're so bad in the playoffs, like, how are you a Hall of Fame? Like, you didn't show up one time. Like, I get going in. I get scuffling. But 10+ ERA, a couple saves in 7 seasons of play. I was like, whatever, dude.
Well, in football, I mean, look at the quarterbacks. They're pretty much judged on Super Bowls.
Oh, yeah. 100%. That's a great analogy. Yeah. I mean, everyone else is like, okay, Pro Bowls, all pros, hardware, but quarterback's a judge. That's the only reason Eli is going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's got 2 against the GOAT. If it wasn't for Eli, Brady'd be walking around with 9 rings.
and look at Lamar Jackson. He puts up great seasons. Mm-hmm. He can't get over the hump in the playoffs.
Yeah, that was always a knock on A-Rod back in the day.
Yeah.
Give me Josh Allen. He's phenomenal, man. I love.
He's a nice quarterback. He's a really nice quarterback. He's really good.
How about
true New York team?
Saquon putting the team on his back, 200+ yards.
Yeah. I'm hoping for a Bills Eagles. That's gonna be a nice talk about fan bases. Eagles, Bills. Can you imagine that tailgate, bro? Oh my god.
So what does it do to Mahomes if he wins another one?
That's rarefied air. That's Montana. That's
Do you
Brady.
think? But do you think he'll blow up in the hobby? Because like he blew up fast, and then he's kind of just stayed there.
I mean, he is the quarterback to get. I mean, people still like
Absolutely.
Brady. Like, I mean, how much hotter can you go when you're the peak already, and you're already? He's got cars that a lot of collectors can't touch. You know, I mean, can he go up a tick? Yeah, he could go up, but I mean, his stuff is almost untouchable right now. Like
another Super Bowl though puts him in another realm.
Oh, I know.
And he's still young.
I think he's better than Tom Brady, pound for pound. Can he take 7 or 8 Super Bowls is to be determined, but pound for pound, I think I'll take him over Tom Brady.
Really?
It's just, I mean, the big deal is the 3-peat, right? And they're winning ugly. I mean, Mahomes really doesn't have the numbers, but the thing is, he's a great leader. When he's on the field, it's going to be ugly, but he's going to do what it takes with the refs' help, of course. But
well, the reason why I say pound for pound is because Brady had some Super Bowl wins where he really didn't do much. It was the defense that carried that win home. So it's like you could point to Mahomes and say he pretty much had a hand in every Super Bowl win.
No, I give you that because
that Super Bowl against Tampa Bay, my God, they couldn't do a thing. That offensive line broke down. Right, I should say Tampa exploited it. They figured it out. That guy didn't have 2 seconds to throw. Did he complete a pass in that Super Bowl?
No, man, they dominated. That was
many. It was like that Peyton Manning Super Bowl against Seattle.
Man, I hope you didn't leave in the beginning because when you missed it, you missed the first couple of series. They were down. And it didn't start off weird, like they blocked the punt or there was a safety. It started off real weird.
It was just dominant.
Yeah, that was bad.
Those are not fun Super Bowls to watch. Now, he won the next year, right? Manning?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he redeemed himself there.
Yeah.
Look at Hugo. Chiefs and the refs are unstoppable.
It's true. That's like it's getting louder and louder, man.
Yeah, I mean, it is getting louder and louder.
It's getting a little blatant. Like some of these
the
calls.
Patriots were like that for a while. They would call, they would interpret a rule one way for them and a different way for other people. I remember when Jesse James for the Steelers, he went across the end zone. The ball crosses the plane or whatever. Then the ball, he lands it on the ground and it bounces out and they call it back. Well, there was a Patriots game where the wide receiver went out of the end zone, bounced the ball, like never even truly had control, and they called it the total opposite way. And if you watch film of both of them, like it was so blatant. And there was another call that went like the way of Jesse James, but when it came to the Pats, they got the benefit of that.
Yeah.
Well, did you see the last Chiefs game where they were up by like 11 and they were running around to run out the clock? Well, the spread was 9.5, so they took a safety. Like, and it wasn't like they were on the 1; they were like at the 20, and they snapped it. The punter got it, and he's running around, and then runs out of bounds, and people are losing their mind. I was like, they're like, the refs are involved, the dang team is involved, the NFL isn't fixed. #. I was like, oof, that's a tough way to lose though. Like you're up by 11, they're about to punt with no time left, and they're running around to run out the clock and take a safety on purpose. Oh man, that's bad. That's why I hate those. That's why I don't. The most gambling I do is in baseball cards because even Mahomes is known and notorious for like losing rushing yards because he's not much of a runner. He's a pocket passer, but he'll run on occasion, and his plus minus is always like 26 yards. But he always loses because they win all the time. So he loses like 12 yards every game just on kneel downs. And he doesn't just kneel it down. He'll go back 5 yards and then kneel. And people are like, what's he doing?
Dang, someone's referring to Mark Andrews dropping the ball.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was
99 out of 100 times. It's true.
I felt bad for him.
Great tight end. And you know what? Lamar Jackson had his back though.
And that was after he fumbled.
Yeah.
That was so unlike him.
You can
Believe me, we face him twice a year, and he doesn't do that shit against us.
Lewis doing a hobby palooza on his own today. First season, now us.
Yeah.
Well,
We might as well just stay on here till you have to go to work at 4 a.m.
Man. Well, it was just funny because, you know, we all talk to everybody, texts, phone calls, and Caesar just hit me out of the blue. He was just like, hey, bro, what you up to? I'm like, nothing. I just came back from a run. And he's like, so I shot him back the obligatory. What are you doing? He's like, nothing, drinking beer. I'm like, you want to go live? He's like, sure. And that's how it was. If not, I mean, we would have been talking for the next hour. Instead of talking on the phone, we just talked through the computer. That's all. It's not like anything's planned or just questions and hard-hitting hobby news.
Did you guys see Chris Sewell's video that he just put up by chance? You probably didn't. I think he just put it up a little while ago. He bought this collection for like $23,000, and it was junk wax stuff. You know, it was the perfect example of what I always talk about, how there's so much unopened material out there. Like there's, 400,000 people that have these stacked up in their garage. He bought this collection, dude. It had something like 30,000 Roger Clemens cards. He had a whole stack of 88 Barry Bonds. I mean, they the 1,600 count box, it was like one whole row of that was just Barry Bonds. He had packages of 50 of like all the stars.
Why would he buy that?
Pulling them out. Like just thousands of cards of the same players.
That
it was crazy.
Like
and then he had stacks, like you see in all the Craigslist ads, stacks of unopened boxes and stuff.
It was all
unopened sets.
It was all
80s, 90s stuff.
For 23,000? What was he expecting?
Well, there was
a
few other things. There were two Michael Jordan rookies, one in a 5 and one in a 7.
Gotcha.
He had a whole bunch of 89 Upper Deck Ken Griffey's, and then he had all the other Ken Griffey's too. But it's funny when you see guys that grew up when I did. They just have garages filled with this stuff, unopened boxes out the wazoo. But I don't know. Like that stuff's hard to move unless it's in a PSA 10.
Tons of Griffey rookies. Orlando watches everything. Yeah, I can see that. He'll take it straight to grading. So he's hoping.
Yeah, I was just laughing at the sheer numbers of cards of the same card. I mean, just stacks of the same cards.
That's crazy.
It's insane. Like those whole 1,600 count boxes, whole rows filled with them.
Adam has the perfect name, the Junk Wax Grail Find. I love it.
Yeah, man. So what else is going on in the hobby?
Well, I'm just wondering if he's gonna grade them and hope for 10s. Like, what's the percentage of 10s you think he's gonna get if he grades them?
Bro,
I have no idea. Like, he had a whole stack of Roger Clemens rookies, the 85 tops, and those things they're pretty awful. Probably none of them will get a 10.
I would love to talk to an insider, like a whistleblower, anonymously. I don't care if they identify themselves, but someone who works in PSA, because I want to know if there's a quota, if there's a population. There has to be. I mean, there's so much junk wax out there, and he has a row, 1,600 counts of Griffey Juniors, and he's hoping on 20% of them gemming. Like, the difference between a 9 Griffey and a 10 Griffey is so much. Like, is it worth sending 100 Griffeys?
Yeah, I don't. He didn't comment on the condition of them, so I don't know if he's thinks any of them are worthy. But the guy he got them from was clearly investing in these cards, because he had them all pre-wrapped, like 50 of each. Like he had hundreds of them, but they were in 50 lot bags. I'm saying 50. I don't know exactly, but roughly that many.
That sounds like great inventory for like a store.
That's what it was. It was like he was investing in all these cards, way
One of
back
the
in the day.
one of the best videos. It had to be at least 3 years ago. It was a while back, but someone sent in like 100 Griffies. Do you remember that video? Like sent in 189 Griffies, and I don't think one came back as a 10. And
Is
that's
that
where he was
right?
like, "There's got to be pop control." He was coming back with 7s and 8s, couple 9s. He was, you save up all these Griffies, buy all these Griffies, and you send the best ones. And he sent 100, and not one gemmed.
Well, maybe that explains why you can crack and resubmit and get, turn 9s into 10s. Maybe
think that
you
was
slip
before
through on that one quote a day or whatever.
That was before it was popular. But I'm telling you, I bet you there's some kind
I
of
don't know.
pop
That's
control.
a different world than the one I live in, so I don't get wrapped up in that stuff. I do get a kick out of watching. I have to be honest. I do get a kick out of watching people that come into the market to flip, and they aren't familiar with vintage cards, and they're used to getting 9s and 10s for all their modern cards, for the time they've been in the hobby, and then they'll buy some vintage cards and they'll send them in, and they're getting 5s and 6s and 7s, and they're losing their minds because they think they're perfect. I do kind of get a kick out of that.
There's a news recently that I was made aware of where there was a ring out here in Texas of fake autographs and people like forging autographs, and then they had like the holograms from Beckett and they were sticking them on, and they busted this ring, and supposedly there's so many fake autographs out there.
Oh, there's no doubt, and many of them are in slabs, I'm sure. I mean, autograph authentication is near impossible. I mean, there's no way to know 100%. You're just basically getting an opinion. That's tough. I'm glad I didn't. I have autographs, but I've never delved into that realm where I'm paying up for autographs.
Right.
I never did trust them a whole lot.
Well, I just got into it like the last few years, and I got into it like a good amount. But what they were faking, I wasn't getting into that, which is like, the picture, and then they'll slap the sticker on it with the number, and the number will match online when you look it up. So thank God I haven't gotten into that realm, but man, it's like, that's why it took me a while to get in there, was because I was trepidatious that there were forgeries going on. And
I always look at the signatures myself, even if they're slabbed. And I stay away from them if they don't look right.
Yeah.
What can get really confusing is, guys change their signature over time. So if you have an earlier Dave Parker autograph and then you have one, after he got sick, they're not going to look anything alike. And Mickey Mantle has about 42 different signatures. He changed his signature. There was a whole website dedicated to which signature they would match it up to the years he signed that way. It's pretty fascinating, actually. Like when he was a rookie, if you get a certain signature of his, you would think it's fake because he didn't have those bananas, when he was a rookie. He just, it looked like a young person's signature. And those things, that would be coveted if you could get one of those and know it's real, because it's from when he was young,
I've never heard someone refer to his signature as having a banana.
Yeah,
he has those 2 bananas at the bottom.
Yeah. But
and people
never heard that.
it's relatively easy to fake those, so all the fakes have them.
Yeah, I'm just seeing a few people chime in about that. I mean, Scott Reindeer Studio, he gets into that, but he usually TTMs or he goes to the show and he gets them signed in person, which is pretty cool. But my God,
I don't think, like, you get on eBay and you're a Bill Madlock fan. Like, Bill Madlock signs everything, right? Bobby Shantz signed everything. Brooks Robinson, everything. And you're getting these cards for next to nothing. I don't think there are people out there selling $7 fakes, probably. But and they're so easy to get through TTM or whatever. But some of the bigger ones where you got to pay up, there have been so many people caught faking those autographs over the years, going way back. That's always been, those have always been more fake than cards, bats and balls. When that got real popular back in like the early 90s, late 80s, those things were getting, faked left and right. All kind of people got arrested for that. who was that? Maestro
Yeah.
was part. They had FBI bullpen, Operation Bullpen. I mean, the FBI got involved, for God's sakes.
My friend Bill told me there's a client of his that's trying to put the 52 set together. And we're probably going to meet up with him tomorrow for lunch. But he ended up buying a 1.5 Mickey Mantle that was a fake. And
No way.
A PSA slab, but the PSA label looked fishy. It didn't look real. So
It was a fake slab?
It was a fake slab with a fake card in there, but it looked good enough that it passed Whatnot, because that's where they bought it from, was Whatnot. And he's now going through the process of getting his money back.
Holy cow. That's the other thing. Now they have fake slabs.
Yeah.
Was it like an old serial number? Because the first thing I do, like I was looking at a certain card this past weekend, and the first thing I did was run the serial number through the SGC website or PSA, because those are nice, clear images.
Yeah, I do the same thing if it looks any suspect to me at all.
Mm-hmm.
I just look it up, and the image comes up. Look up the cert, and then at least gives you a warm and fuzzy. That's what you're getting.
Exactly, yeah.
Unless somebody cracked it out
uh-huh.
and put that label in a new holder. I mean, you could get those holders online now.
No,
you can't mimic the new ones that they're doing. I'm not saying you can, but if it's an old holder, you could probably make it look like it.
Yeah, no, it was a label that did not look official from what my friend told me when he saw it. And the card looked fake. If you handle enough mantles like he does, you could spot it like right off the bat. This doesn't look right. And then they looked at the label, and the label looked off. He told me that the details didn't look sharp. So it must have been.
Well, I mean, it's funny that he was scrutinizing the label, but not the card. Because I mean, a fake mantle is pretty easy to spot.
No. He said first the card was fake, and then they try to surmise whether they slipped it into a slab or if they faked the whole thing altogether. And he says it looked like it was all put together fake. And it's everywhere.
We attract some really interesting folks to this hobby.
Yes, that's why, like, when I buy online, it's pretty much vintage. So I feel comfortable, because if you look up an image, you can pretty much tell if the vintage card is the same card as the one that's in the image.
Yeah.
Because that's what my biggest worry is. Not fake slabs, but say a card gets a decent grade, they take that card out and then they put a shitty card inside that nice slab. That way, they're selling you an 8 when the card is really a 5, and they keep the 8, get it graded again. That's what I worry about. So, and it's true. Like Pepino said, it's something you always echo, John. Vintage cards, they're all different. There's all little nuances, fish eyes. They're all different. So you could tell if the card that was submitted is the same card that you're getting.
Absolutely.
You can't do that. You can't do that with the modern stuff. Like, if they take out Gem Mint 10 Brady and they take it out and put in a shitty Brady with some flaws and sell you that 10, and then they keep the flawless one.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if it was a 7 or an 8, you probably wouldn't know if it's in that slab.
Exactly.
I see 10s of modern cards on eBay when I'm shopping for cards, and they will look like they have a flaw on them. The Prism or the Mosaic or the Select. They'll get little I don't know what they're called, but spots on the card, right?
Yeah, those specs.
Well, they're
or dimples.
I don't know how to describe it, but there's a flaw on it. You see it with them all the time. They come out of the packs that way. And in these holders, it looks like it's there to me. I'm seeing this stuff, but they're in a PSA 10 slab, and I pass. Like I just pass because it doesn't look right to me. I don't care what number's on there.
Yeah.
I often wonder if, like, sometimes the grader mishandles the card and, like, maybe drops it and the corner gets a ding, but he already, assessed it to be a 10, and he wants to, I guess, cover his own track, so he just slips it in there, hopes nobody notices. Yeah. But now you got a card that's graded at 10, and you could clearly see a ding.
Well, that's a good question. Do they do that? Like, if you're resubmitting and they damage it slightly. Do they put it back in the same holder? Because that's what you're getting it re-slabbed, so you're guaranteed to get the same grade.
Yeah. I had a friend once that told me he put in a card, had no creases, and he thought it was gonna get like a 5, and when he got it back, it was like a 3, and it had like creases, so they clearly mishandled it.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of stories like that, and the question is, did you not catch it before you sent it in, or did they truly crease it, or did you maybe crease it putting it in the holder to send to them? You know, I don't know. I hear all these stories, but it's so hard to prove it, even if you have video, because a crease might not show up on a video. You know, a slight crease.
Right.
I'm just laughing at Petty talking about balloon knots. I'm like, balloon knots? He's talking about whatnot.
Oh,
Then
he has a name for everything.
The one thing that I'm thinking of Mike Petty, where he be talking about the kaboomies and the downtown, uptowns or whatever. The one you insert that I gotta admit I really love and has grown on me big time is the mangas. Those mangas are like the best thing they ever thought.
Do you have one? I'm not familiar with them.
Oh, those are the animes, right?
Yes.
My son likes anime, so I remember him talking about it, but
they are the best looking. They look like comic book figures.
Do you have one laying around or no?
Huh?
You have one laying around?
No, those are expensive. They're like $1,000 and up. Like
like you don't pay that for cards.
They're K6.
But they make them look like superheroes, and it is so cool. Those
what products that in?
And Prism.
Really?
Is it kind of like
seen one?
Is it kind of like that Topps project? Was it Project 70 where they made like Dave Parker look like the Cobra, and there was another one looking like the Predator? Is it kind of like that?
The first ones they came out with was the Bowman that looked like the Bowman 55s, and then they put like Aaron Judge in there or whatever, or Shohei, and then I guess those were a hit, and now Prism, I guess, got them to do the mangas, and those mangas are fire. Like,
why are they called manga?
Because it's manga art.
Yeah, it's anime stuff. That's the only reason I even know is because I buy manga books for my son.
Oh, that's a type of art?
Yeah.
See, I don't even know that.
Yeah, I guess
I'm out of it, man.
No, it's anime. It's like it's anime. It's all that. My son loves that stuff.
Yeah.
Dylan says he hates those things, but as soon as they make a Pujols manga, he's gonna be all over it.
A Mike Trout manga.
Or a Trout.
Exactly.
Or a Judge.
Mantle.
Or a mantle.
I'm calling it. I'm calling it. He'll have a bounty on a manga Trout by this time next year.
Well, you know, Dylan will be. He'll come out hard against something, and then the next thing you know, he's doing a video on how cool they are.
Exactly.
a year or two later.
He said no chance. Whatever. Get out of it. They're gonna make one of the surfer that he likes, and that's it. He's gonna say it's the best thing ever.
I remember when he didn't want any Venezuelans. Now look at him. Or Opichis. He thought Opichi were fake cards.
Japanese, yeah. He's easy to influence.
Hey, Petty, you should come on. Liven this thing up.
Yeah, you can get on here because I gotta wake up at 4:30. I just had to get on here with my homies, miss these guys. James, you're working.
Dylan, jump on.
You're working at Strongville.
No,
you going?
I got a lot of shows this year, man. I'm gonna wear myself thin doing shows this year.
I was just curious. I really want to go, but I can't get off of work.
I want to go too, but I would have gone more to try to buy inventory.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And if I would have seen stuff that I would have liked, of course, I would have picked it up. But
hey, James, I'm your friend. Give me your money. I'll go get your inventory for you.
I don't got much of it. What are you talking about? Go sell a few stocks. You can have way more than whatever I have.
John, you going?
Zell me the money or however you want to send it, and I'll go. I'll go get your inventory for you.
John, you going to Strongsville?
I don't know yet. I'm still on the cusp. I you know, in my current life, so I always had to be on 32 conference calls a week. And I never had time to turn around. I always had to be somewhere at some time my whole life, starting first thing in the friggin' morning. And so in my current life, I don't like to commit that early. So I'm always making the last minute decision.
Well, we'll talk in March.
I like to have control of my schedule a little bit. So
I would love to go to Strongville to pick up some 52s, some high numbers or something, because I want to check off a few. I got some already.
You need to flip those.
No, I got to pick up some more.
You said there was a guy working on that set. I thought you were trying to sell him some cards.
A bunch of people who was working on the set, but
that's James.
Man, that set's gotten so expensive.
No, they're coming down now. At least for the last.
Are they?
The last half year, they've been getting a little bit more reasonable.
Well, how much is the Campy? Because I would love the 52 Campy.
Well, that one stays up.
How about the Yogi Berra? You have a nice Yogi Berra for me? I never picked that card up.
Yeah, I got a Yogi Berra, but not for you. It's for my.
I mean to sell me.
Oh, my brother.
I mean to sell me.
For a set.
Where is mine? Let me see if I get it.
Oh, Lord. I mean, he's got
Lou,
all
I don't
the
know
card
if you
cards.
saw my video, but I got this Cons Vada Pinson. This thing is gorgeous. Oh, let's look at that first.
Let me put it up. It's a little OC, but OC cards need love too, right, Lou?
Hell yeah, it's a 52.
Hey, it's no problem, man. We'll just trim up the right side and a little off the top. You won't know the difference.
You heard it here. The cheating scandal by the president, the hot president.
Make that centered.
Oh, the president caught up already. A couple weeks in office.
Hey, put me on the screen. I want to show this Vada Pinson, 1960 Cons. It's so beautiful.
Oh, okay.
That's dope, man.
Should he be in the Hall of Fame?
I don't know.
Nah,
you didn't watch him play?
Tell me.
Let me see.
All right, you can take me off.
You tell me. Did you see any part of his career playing?
Heck no.
When did he play? Like in the 60s, right?
He came up 58 to 75, I think.
Very nice.
Or maybe 76.
Nice. Yep. 286 hitter, 2,700 hits, 250 home runs, 1,100 RBIs. But yeah, you nailed it.
That's a lot of hits, man.
Oh yeah. Let me see Baseball Reference.
James?
I think he was a really good base runner.
Yeah. These young kids love WAR. He's 54.2 WAR. 300 stolen bases. So nice little combination of power and speed. 256 home runs, 305 stolen bases.
What was his batting average?
1,300 runs. He was a 286 lifetime.
Okay.
So
yeah, he was a good all-around player. A lot of people say he should be in the old timers, and growing up, I mean, he was always one that we always wanted to collect. He was always one that was talked about. He's kind of fallen off the wayside over the years. But,
his name never comes up in those committees, those air committees.
No.
You never hear him come up.
So I don't know. I didn't get to watch him play. A lot of the guys that I did watch play, like when you say, should he be in the Hall of Fame? It's based on me watching them. I'm not looking up their stats to see if they should be in, But the old guys, I have to look up their stats. I didn't get to watch them. But, I was saying, about Dave Parker, like I watched him most of his career. I was real little when he first came up, but I watched him most of his career. That's why I think he should have been in, because I watched him. Not because of any stats I read.
Yeah.
So here's something real quick. Pinson's 54.2 career WAR ranks just ahead of Hall of Famer and former teammate Tony Perez. Pinson spent 11 years out of his 18 with Cincinnati, so that was like the direct comparison. And then he's also above other center field Hall of Famers like Averill, Puckett, Doby, and Max Carey. So, I mean, he has a great, strong argument, way better than Billy Wagner. But people...
Yeah, I mean, he was a good, solid, all-around player. But do you think the Hall of Fame and people that vote for the Hall of Fame, just the popularity of a player in general, you think it hurts them if they're not a big home run hitter? Because I do.
I think it
Yeah.
has something to do with it.
I mean, because
if
you look at Harmon Killebrew, what do you have, a 259 batting average, but he had over 500 home runs.
Yeah, chicks dig the long ball, but it's not just that. Like if they're not in an exclusive club, like we can all rattle off, 3,000 K club,
Right.
3,000 hits, 500 stolen bases. If you're not in one of those exclusive clubs, 300 wins.
But what did you say? He had over 2,700 hits, though, right?
Yeah, 2,700 hits.
I mean, that's pretty impressive. That's a lot of hits.
So did Omar Vizquel, but no one talks about him. And he has 11 Gold Gloves.
And let's look at it. At the time that Vada Pinson's retirement,
Mm-hmm.
I think there were only 12 players that had 3,000 hits in history.
Yeah, 75,
right?
100%.
Wasn't Clemente the 11th?
Yeah, the gatekeeper, baby.
I think he was the 11th or 12th, and then Al Kaline did it, I think, in 74.
Finished
So that would have been, I think, only 12 players at the time he retired had ever achieved that goal. So 2,700 is not bad.
Oh no, it's phenomenal. He had 4 seasons of 200 plus hits.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
I think Mickey Mantle never hit 27, right? He was not near 3,000 hits.
No, he wasn't.
No,
I don't even think he had 2,700 hits.
No, he didn't have a lot of hits.
2,500 hits in general. Just 25. I know 3,000 is the club, but 2,500 hits is a lot of hits, dude.
The thing with Mantle is, you were talking about World Series performance earlier. I mean, there you go, 18 World Series home runs. And it bothers me. And I was never a huge, I wasn't the biggest Mantle fan like that. Somebody who's a Mantle fan, it should bother them more, because it bothers me. And he wasn't like Clemente is to me. Like, I didn't grow up with.
I already know where you're going with this.
Yeah, they lump all these postseason numbers together now, and Mickey Mantle didn't have playoff games. Like, all his numbers are from the World Series, and they'll take a guy that plays in these playoff series, and they'll say, "Oh, he's ahead of Mickey Mantle with this figure or whatever." It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Jeter, I mean, most of them are Yankees because Bernie Williams is up there. He's one of the leaders. Jeter is one of the leaders with postseason home runs. But I mean, between the wild card, divisional, it's not
exactly. I don't think young people realize those guys didn't play in the playoffs. So you're going to see guys ahead of Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle and Joe DiMaggio and Yogi Berra, who were in all those World Series, but they didn't have these 5-game playoff series.
No, that's why when they won the pennant, it was a big deal, because you won the pennant and then you played in the granddaddy of them all.
I gotta ask you a question. If the Hall of Fame decided to start putting like one name in that has a sullied past, the player that has a sullied past but should be in the Hall of Fame, which one of these three you think they would put in first?
Bonds.
Barry Bonds, Pete Rose, or Shoeless Joe Jackson?
Oh, probably Shoeless has to be the one, right?
I think Shoeless should be first if they would do that, because he's waited the longest.
Yeah. Guilt by association. That's how I always felt with Shoeless. Guilt by association. It'd be Shoeless, then Pete, then Bonds.
So to go by seniority, like the one that waited.
I think by culpability, because I think Pete Rose, yes, he betted on baseball, but you're telling me Charlie Hustle, like his moniker, you telling me he tanked? If anything, I believe that he betted to win. Yeah. Why else would he be running catchers over in the All-Star game and doing what he's doing? The guy never took a play off. So it's hard for me to think that he was fixing games to lose or to manipulate it in that manner. So
I agree.
My thing is, like, two people played well on the field without help, Shoeless and Pete.
Yes.
Bonds had help. We can all agree, right?
And that's why he'll be my third choice. It's not by seniority. It's just for that reasoning, because he took it knowing that he was either having an advantage, he knew it was wrong. I mean, that's why I mean,
Well,
he had his
I'm with you.
bench.
The other two have to take priority because they didn't take anything to enhance their play.
Exactly.
Mm.
So yeah, that's the thing with the PED. That's the same argument. You know, Clemens, freaking Bonds, Gary Sheffield. It's like, shoot. I mean, you got Rafael Palmeiro, 3,000 hits, 500 home runs. It's
The only thing you could say is,
George.
and I'm not. Oh, who's up?
George.
George.
What's up, guys?
Hey, George.
I needed to put my glasses on.
You got to hear from George who he thinks should be in first. Did you hear the question?
I was watching and I was sitting here and I had a lot of stuff to do and I saw you guys were talking Hall of Fame and I'm like, I have to get on. I can't hold back. This is too much.
Well, the question posed was, out of these three people who have Sully pass but deserve the Hall of Fame, who should get in first? Shoeless Joe, Pete Rose, or Barry Bonds?
Wow. That's really hard. You have the all-time hit leader. You have the all-time, questionably all-time home run leader. And you have one of the greatest hitters of all time. I believe that Pete Rose is the closest because I don't believe Pete Rose ever bet on his own team. I believe Pete Rose bet on his team to win. I can't possibly see him betting on his team to lose. I know that's a rule. You don't bet on baseball. My position on Bonds is that he wouldn't have done what he did without steroids. We all know that. I mean, Bonds is a great player, but steroids took him to a different level, along with a lot of other guys.
Another planet.
Yeah, right. And then
Shoeless.
And Shoeless Joe. I mean, it's tough with Shoeless Joe because at this point, there's like nobody alive that knows anything. You didn't really speak to it. All we do is read about it in books.
Yeah.
You know, if he threw the World Series, that's a big deal. I know that statistically it didn't look like he threw the World Series. I know that other people came forward and said that he really wasn't part of this, you know. But that whole thing changed the whole landscape. We wouldn't even have the Pete Rose rule.
Yes.
If it wasn't for Shoeless Joe, right? The Pete Rose rule, the no betting, comes from this. They got a federal judge, Mountain Landis, right, to take over as the commissioner, all because of the scandal. Take over with the scandal, right? And so,
it's my understanding. It's my understanding from what I've read and up on the history is that back then, in those days, it wasn't that uncommon for players to do that. And that was like the final straw when it happened in the World Series. Because there were lots of other early players like Heine Zimmerman, Hal Chase, and supposedly there were other people that did this, you know. They didn't make $100 million a year playing back then.
And I think you're right that Hal Chase is notorious for this, right? And the guys you mentioned, but it's like, you know, yeah, it was the World Series, it was Chicago, which is one of the two biggest markets probably.
Yeah.
I think it was common knowledge that people were betting on baseball and they needed to do something to fix this because it was going to ruin the future of the game if they'd make an example out of somebody. And I think that's probably why they never reconsidered the Joe Jackson issue, because they were making an example out of him. Frankly, later on, the same reason that Giamatti made an example out of Pete Rose. Now, Pete Rose did a lot of things to cause his own demise. He had a chance to come forward and admit that he did it, and Giamatti told him that if you came forward, we would ban you for a year, and then you'd be eligible again. And he said, no, I'm Pete fucking Rose, man. No.
And I had hope in 98, the all-century team, Fenway. I really thought this was going to be, I was talking to my father. My father was like, I think he's going to be in the Hall of Fame now. Like, that was the biggest thing. How can you have a Hall of Fame with no hit king? And to see Pete Rose on a baseball field with all those legends was phenomenal. And I thought it was the opportunity.
Do you think they should have a lifetime ban where after their passing, they could put them in?
Well, my father always said, you know, baseball is going to stick it to Pete Rose, and has always said that as long as Pete Rose is alive, he would never
Well,
be.
I've always said that too. We all know that. But now that he's passed, does he have a chance or no chance?
He said his chances have gone up. I mean, my father's passed now, but that was his biggest thing. He's like, now that, if he ever passes away, Pete Rose has a 50-50 shot of getting in. He just has to get on the ballot. Like, you're telling me ball players who sees now there are some players who are publicly very against what Pete Rose did, but come on, man. Charlie Hustle.
Yeah, but the thing is, so if you have a lifetime ban, you're punishing him. He's never going to see himself in the hall. But as a baseball player for the fans, I don't know. It's like we collect these men on cardboard, and I personally have to separate the human being from the player. Or there would be probably maybe lots of cards I didn't collect.
Clean cheap shot.
And like in baseball, what they did on the field is it really doesn't have anything to do with who they are as a person necessarily, because there's probably a lot of really bad people in the Hall of Fame. Back in the 1940s, 50s, 20s, I mean, it wasn't uncommon for men to beat their wives, but it wasn't on TikTok or anything either. Like nobody knew about it. And you can't tell me that there aren't bad people that are in the Hall of Fame that we just don't know they were.
And the press back in the day was much different than the press today. Back in the day, they almost protected the players, wouldn't write or put anything out in public.
Yeah, for sure. Even if you got suspended, like the coach, the team would keep it quiet why you got suspended, or they'd make something up. I mean, hell, we had a president that had polio and was in a wheelchair and nobody knew it in the whole country.
Yeah.
The press covered that up for years.
Right.
It's a totally different world now. If a player sneezes sideways, it's all over the place and blown out of proportion.
Yeah, but I like the comment that Clean Cheap Shots put up. Hall of Fame is a private organization, so they don't have to follow any rule or restriction that MLB places. But unfortunately, they rely on MLB giving them all these things. They're like, arm in arm, because if they don't give them all these bats and shirts and things of that nature, what are they going to showcase at the museum?
Yeah.
So did you guys know that Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle were once banned from the Hall of Fame?
No.
What?
They were banned from gambling, and this is on Sports Illustrated in the early 80s. They had them on the cover. Welcome back, Willie and the Mick.
Yeah, so they Willie, and back to your point on Pete Rose, what he told what's his name, Giamatti? What's his name?
Bart Giamatti.
Bartlett Giamatti.
Okay, so what Pete told him, back to your point on that. So Willie Mays got in trouble because he was working for a casino as a spokesperson. And I don't know if any of you have ever seen the Bally's. He has postcards from Bally's, and I guess he would go there and sign and stuff. But you were not allowed to work at a casino or be around gambling at all. So they banned him, and they threatened to ban him at the time. And he called Mickey Mantle and he said, "Hey," because Mickey Mantle was doing the same thing. And he said, he warned them. He said, "Hey, they're gonna ban us. Like, we're not allowed to be doing this." And Mickey Mantle didn't, he didn't care. He did it anyway. So anyway, after the new commissioner came in, I think what was it, the late 70s? I mean, the new commissioner came in and said these two players are too important to baseball to ban from the Hall of Fame, and reinstated them. So is Pete Rose not important to the Hall of Fame?
Well, my thing is a lifetime ban, right? So his life is over. His name has never been on the ballot. Does he get 10 years on the ballot? Or does he go to an era committee? It's just things that have to pop up. But I believe he needs to be in there. It's not like I can see the double-edged sword with the PED guys, but it's hard for me to argue anything against Pete Rose. I mean, the guy lived and breathed baseball. I mean, I loved listening to him talk hitting, especially with other current MLB players, because they start putting him on video, and it's just a sweet science the way he approached, any pitcher. But yeah, he needs to be in.
My thing is, it's sad because one of the joys I get is watching the people get the call, like Billy Wagner, and he was like crying.
Yeah.
Right, that is so cool to watch. And then you don't get.
It's like watching Four Leaf. I love that stuff. It is so much fun to make Four Leaf cry.
He does get emotional.
But my point is, like, now Pete Rose doesn't get to have the joy of being honored there, or even people that get voted in from the players committee, because they're most of them are already gone. Like, so that's kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, I was sad because they waited till Gil Hodges died and they put him in, and who was it? His daughter or something has to come do it, and they waited for Minnie Minoso to die, then they put him in. It's like, can't you put him in while they can enjoy it?
Yeah, Ron
Richie Allen, Dick Allen, they did the same thing too.
Yeah, that's kind of sad, but
I was hoping they didn't do that to Dave Parker, because he's so sick.
Yeah.
Can you guys explain to me something about the era committee? And maybe I haven't read enough about it, but and Dick Allen was on that, and Dick Allen got in and Parker gets in, and they had narrowed it down to 8 guys who were supposed to be, who were on that. And the era committee, I guess, is pre 1990 or something. Yeah, the classic era committee.
Mm.
And one person who wasn't even on there was Thurman Munson. And a friend of mine says, well, hey, maybe there's a rule that they have to play in the league for 10 years or something. And then I'm like, looked, and Munson played in the league for 10 years, I think, as far as I know. Maybe, I don't know what it is. I don't know why he's not on the ballot, because all this talk, since Joe Mauer got in as a first ballot Hall of Famer and didn't even play catcher his whole career. And then people talk about Buster Posey as a no-brainer first ballot Hall of Famer. But Thurman Munson's stats are the same as Buster Posey's. Like, they're almost identical. He won an MVP. He won a World Series.
He's won 2 World Series.
And I mean, so I'm trying to figure out why Munson wasn't on there, even among the 8. I mean, there are a lot of guys. Louis Tion's awesome. But I mean, Thurman Munson is like the Yankee captain. I'm trying to figure this out, and I'm just brittle. I'm just puzzled if there's some technicality about why he wasn't on there or not. I'm not sure if anybody in the audience knows. But I mean, other than the fact that maybe people didn't like him, like, Garvey got on, but Garvey didn't get in, not because of his credentials, but because people just don't like him for some reason.
Yeah, it goes back to what I was saying. I don't look up his stats, but I watched him play. I mean, just fantastic catcher.
Yeah, I mean,
but did he win? Did he win too? What years did he win?
77, 78.
Did they win both those years?
Yeah.
Why do I remember them?
Yeah.
Didn't they lose one to the Dodgers?
They lost. No, they never lost the Dodgers until 81. In the 70s.
Oh, that was 81. Okay.
They lost to the Big Red Machine. They lost to the Reds. And they yes, you lose right. 77, 78, and Munson won the 76 MVP.
Okay.
And so I'm just trying to figure out what.
And 81's the year they lost to the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Yeah, 77, 78 were both the Dodgers. I was like, what?
Do you think they're focusing more on the people that have been on longer on the ballot, like, played a little bit longer prior to them? Like, do you think that could be a reason? Like, we'll get to these guys eventually, but let's focus on the dudes from the 50s and 60s first. Do you think that might have been a reason?
The only thing I can think of is the Hall of Fame. They love longevity more than anything else. Yeah. Like Koufax is a rarity, a rarity.
His peak was peak.
Yeah, but he was so good. I guess they could ignore that.
John, I think you're right absolutely right about longevity in the past. They don't care about it much anymore. You guys were talking earlier about Vada Pinson, and it's like he was a great player. He played a while, but like 2,700 hits doesn't get you in. But now they're like, well, maybe it does. You know what I mean? Like, now there's got
2,700. People won't even have 2,000 hits anymore.
Well, that's why people go in, because the mythical clubs that we've been talking about all night. That's why people are starting to look at WAR, peak WAR, OPS plus. They're looking at all these numbers because, I mean, who's your other one? Al Oliver. Doesn't he have like 2,800 hits?
I think he's 27, 28, somewhere in there.
Yeah, he's got a lot of damn hits too.
He was a hit machine.
But people don't know Al Oliver because he's not 3,500 home runs. Like the common baseball fan won't know Al Oliver.
Yeah.
I watch old games, and Alan Oliver gets hits in every single one I've ever watched.
Yeah, because you're watching his highlight games.
No. I just watch old games,
film, bro.
I watch old games.
Hey, John, what do you do if Dave Parker wears the A's or the Reds hat?
Well, I don't care.
You don't care?
I think didn't he already announce he's going to go in as a Pirate?
I don't know.
Because he said his greatest memory was the '79 team.
Oh, okay.
Pops in
I was just checking.
I think he already announced that, but
yeah,
Al Oliver, man, when he was with the Rangers and the Expos at the end of his career, man, he was really good. Like he got better as he went.
He was pretty good.
Yeah, he was nice, man.
Sabathia, what is Sabathia going in? What team?
Yankees.
I hope
Really?
so.
Wow.
Well, he won a championship with them.
Well, I mean, you could charge more when you put to Yankee fans.
Yeah.
Wait, did he play the equal amount of time with the Yankees?
It will either be Cleveland or the Yankees. I mean, the Brewers was legendary, but he was there for 2008. Helped them get to the playoffs. He's not going. I know the Brewers are trying to claim him, but that was a pit stop.
Yeah. I would think it would have been the Cleveland. I mean, I don't know.
How many Brewers are in the Hall of Fame? Are there more than two?
Yeah.
I mean, that were like played, the majority of their time with the Brewers, not somebody that just stopped by.
Yeah.
Like Dave Parker stopped by.
I mean,
didn't Jack Morris play for them for a
what
short
is
stint?
Molitor wearing? Is he wearing the Brewers?
Twins?
I imagine he'd be a Brewer unless he was born. I think he's a Minnesotan, so I don't know. Maybe it was Minnesota.
Wait, who did you say?
It was Molitor, Young,
Yeah, Molitor and Young are the only ones I could think of off the top of my head.
Fingers.
Fingers is A's, no?
Well, I mean,
yeah, I mean, I don't think of him as a Brewer.
He won the Cy Young. He won the MVP as a Brewer.
Well, I'm not saying he didn't have a good season or play well for them. I just don't think of him with them. I think of him with the A's or who else?
That's our age difference, John.
The Padres? Did he play for the Padres?
So here are players. These are the players with ties to the Brewers in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, Dave Parker. He's going in as a Pirate. Ted Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
Hoffman. Trevor Hoffman. Molitor. Robin Yount. Don Sutton. Fingers. And Henry Aaron.
Oh, Ted Simmons. Yeah, he played a while for them, didn't he?
Yeah.
But they had before he went there, they had Darryl Porter. You guys remember him?
They were traded for each other, weren't they?
Actually, is that who? Okay.
Yeah.
Darryl Porter was a solid player.
Yeah, all-star.
He was a solid catcher.
Dang, the Brewers don't have.
How about Ben Ogilvy?
Ben Ogilvy. They don't have many players, man. That kind of sucks for them.
I was talking to a guy at a card show recently, and he was talking to me about Harvey Keene, the Harvey's Wallbangers Brewers. And they were a big part of my childhood because in Phoenix here, we used to go watch them train, right? And I went in 82 and 83 when they were really good. And I always thought of Harvey Keene as this really old man. A euchre, yeah. There you go, Mookie. And Harvey Keene, this guy was talking to me that he went to Harvey Keene's gravesite, which is only 5 miles from the show we were doing. And he showed me a picture of it. And I looked, and Harvey Keene was 55 years old when he died. And I remember he was white hair and just he looked like he was 70, 75, And now I'm close to Harvey Keene's age.
Well, when you're a kid, I mean, everybody, they look so old. Now, at my age, I get these prospects and they look like they're 12.
It's depressing. But hey, beautiful people, I gotta wake up early. It's almost 9:30 here.
All right, man.
Peace
Thanks
out.
for jumping on.
Oh yeah, man. Miss you guys. We'll figure something out.
This
And
is
I
you,
see
Lou.
I'm
you
going to
soon,
see
John.
you pretty soon.
Oh yeah, I can't
You'll
wait.
be on some live stream tomorrow. The marathon continues.
Nah, bro. It's gonna be busy in Tampa. We got Gasparilla. If you guys know what that is, then you know. Gonna have about
No.
300,000 people in Tampa this weekend. So
For what?
it's pretty much Mardi Gras, and we celebrate.
Oh, really?
Months. Yeah, it's a huge. So on Saturday is the parade, and we'll have we're estimating 270,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the tomfoolery starts Friday and doesn't stop. We already had the children's parade last Saturday, MLK parade this Monday. We have a night. They celebrate this dang thing. Gasparilla is pretty much celebrating pirates. It's the pillaging, like they have the pirate invasion. It's terrible. After 20 years, it's like, golly, it's gonna be busy.
Hey, real quick, did they fix that dome, or did they announce plans to fix it? What's going on with that?
They came to some kind of agreement. We are playing in the Yankees spring training, so that'd be kind of fun to have outdoor baseball down here. But they are front loading the schedule, so there's going to be a lot of home games for the Rays in the first couple months because they're worried about the hurricane season and the rainy season towards the end, and they don't want any games being canceled. So they're front loading, from what I heard from the schedule makers.
But are they putting the dome back on?
Yeah, they're going to fix it. I don't know what. Yeah, they're going to fix the trop. They're still building, because the thing is, they came to an agreement to a new stadium, a new arena, right next door.
Oh, they did.
Oh yeah, they're going. Yeah, that's already.
Oh.
Yeah, but then when the Rays stepped out, St. Pete felt a certain type of way and said, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa!" And the Rays were like, "We already came to an agreement, but we gotta figure this out. The season's about to start." And so that got held up because, here's a baseball season. A lot of seasonal workers depend on that income, and now it's going to the Yankees. The Yankees already said they're going to make about $15 million on this deal between concessions and ticket sales. And the Rays are like, we just need a place to play. And it's a spring training facility, spring training site, but it's not MLB ready. They need more cameras. They need the audio and video review in place. There's a lot of things they need to do to make Legends Field or Steinbrenner Field, the spring training facility, up to MLB specs.
But that's where they're going to play their games this year.
Yep, right across from
okay.
James. So it should be fun.
That's a great that Yankees spring training facility is great. I was there a long time ago, but it's big compared to the Arizona facility. It's really big.
Oh man, yeah, Florida, they do it pretty good. The Yankees renovated it to make it seem like the one in the Bronx. If you go to Fort Myers, the Red Sox did something similar. They have like a mini green wall in theirs. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, if you guys want to do a spring training tour, Misfits on the road, let's do it. Grapefruit.
I'm gonna be in Arizona with George over there. We're gonna try to catch a game.
Cactus League.
Cactus League. That's right.
In March for our big show, our Arizona State Card Show at the Convention Center. Yeah. James is coming at the best time of year. The weather's like San Diego. If he came here in June, it'd be like on the surface of the sun.
When you said that, I heard that song "By the Time I Get to Arizona" in my head.
All right, I gotta go. See ya.
Okay, see you later,
brother.
I was gonna ask you guys, what do you think about the Dodgers? Are they ruining baseball with all oh my gosh, can they stop signing people? And it's ridiculous.
They're the new Yankees.
I've never seen anything like this.
They're buying championships. That pitching staff's absurd.
And like they say, location. They're getting all the best Japanese players to want to play for them because they want to stay closer to home. Unbelievable.
Yeah, there's some theories, and I know you guys have heard them, but the first one being, they're going to do a 6-man or even a 7-man rotation. That what they can do then is they can keep Kershaw and just, Kershaw's still good, but he's good for about 100 innings. and then you can have Ohtani pitch like 100 innings and not wear his arm out. There's another theory that Ohtani might be the closer. I've heard this too. I don't know.
I would love for him to be the closer. I think that would be awesome.
Pressure, man. That's a lot of pressure. But
yeah, I mean, even if he's not an everyday closer, maybe when they really need him the most or whatever. But I really wanted to see him close in the World Series. I thought, that if that series went to like Game 7 and he'd come out of the bullpen and face Aaron Judge, like that was my dream.
Well, James, I hate to bring this up, but John, I felt that way when we played the Yankees and they brought Randy Johnson out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
And you see him coming in and you're like, dude, this is unbelievable. This guy's like the greatest left-hander in the last forever. And he's coming into sorry, James. Sorry. It's your show, man. I'm sorry. But that's how I felt. I was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. Am I really seeing this? This is like Superman is coming in to close the game.
Hey, James, you know what I'm looking at right now? Can you guess?
Something Clemente.
No, I'm looking at an autographed bat and an autographed ball of Luis Gonzalez.
And that stupid jersey too, right?
I have so much stuff because my wife signed him for GNC, and he gave me. I have autographed cards, ball, bat, jersey. I have an autographed poster.
Oh my gosh! Can we change the subject?
With the Dodgers, can I just ask you guys a question? Like, what do you think is going to be happening with them in the future? Like, are they hamstringing themselves for the future? Is baseball going to put any kind of a bigger restriction than the luxury tax? I mean, I would like to think as a Diamondbacks fan, well, good, fine, they can do this now, but they're going to pay the piper later. But I'm thinking if they don't put any kind of salary cap in, they won't care. They just will keep spending.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. People have been calling for a salary cap for years, but if you look at like the NFL, I mean, you get a lot of parity that way. I'm sure people could point out negatives of it, but you just get a lot more parity.
Yeah, but then also you have like the A's who signed all these ridiculous contracts just to be able to spend the bargaining collective agreement where the shared revenue, and they're like, look, we spent it, but they spent it on all these retread players.
But the thing is there's a difference. Like, not even if you have a salary cap, not everybody, or even if you have money, not everybody's going to spend it wisely, or it doesn't guarantee you a winner or anything. But when you're doing what the Dodgers are doing, I mean, it kind of does, practically. But it's just insane. Like if you have a salary cap, then you have small teams that have at least a chance because. I mean, one Yankee, one Dodger makes more than the entire Pittsburgh Pirate team.
Look at the Mets now.
It's absurd.
Soto, wow, man. What he agreed to is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's just more of the Mets being the Mets and screwing things up. And I'm not saying anything bad about Juan Soto as a player, but I would never in a million years sign a right fielder who can't throw to that kind of contract. I mean, he's a great hitter, but if you look at his numbers, I mean, he's a lesser batting average hitter than George Brett with a little bit more power. But I mean, he doesn't have an arm. I mean, I would save my money for a shortstop.
How do you have a guy in right field with that arm? Just out of curiosity.
Well, you wouldn't. I wouldn't. I mean, like, yeah, you can't.
It blows my mind. That's like the hardest throws.
I think that contract's going to be a huge albatross.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the last 4 years, it's going to be like Miggy with the Tigers, where it was almost like, just please leave this team so we could build it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you guys saw everybody's sharing this post that comparing Brian Zhao's first 6 years to his, how much better Zhao's numbers are.
Well, wasn't Brian Giles on performance-enhancing drugs? I mean, let's like really, like maybe. Am I wrong?
Well, I mean, George, you could be suspect of anybody during that time, I guess, if you want to, because I'm sure there are people that did it that nobody thinks they did or they didn't get caught. I mean, it was so rampant.
But I mean, you didn't look at Brian Giles and say this guy is one of the top hitters in the game. Soto is clearly one of the top hitters in the game.
I'll tell you what, I watched Brian Giles a lot.
He's good.
In fact, that I said to my dad, I said they had traded Jason Kendall away, and I said if they trade Brian Giles, I'm done watching baseball because, like, give me one guy to watch. I was a Brian Giles fan. And he played great. He played great for the Pirates. He
was good. And Kendall was good, and you had a good team for a while there. Yeah.
Jason Bay, he was another one you had that was good.
That was after I stopped watching him. Because I actually kept true to my word, and I stopped watching him.
Oh, my gosh.
I was so mad. It was like in the old days, like in my dad's era, the only thing the Pirates had was Ralph Kiner. That was it. Nobody else, nothing else. And when he left, the baseball fans were so depressed there.
Do you think
he was all they had to watch? You know, I don't mind if we lose, but give me a player or two that I can root for, I can watch do something great, you know?
Well, but do you think in 2026, when the contract agreement is up, that they're going to demand huge changes? Because the Dodgers, like, who's going to beat them? It's like them against all of baseball now.
It seems that way.
The Dodgers have just, and I hate to say this, but they're really, really smart because the guys that they're spending money on are good dudes. Like Mookie Betts is a good dude. I can't believe that the Red Sox let him get away. Mookie Betts comes there and they're like, hey, we want you to play outfield. It's best for the team. Sure, I will. Oh, this guy got injured. Gavin Lux isn't panning out at second. We want you to move to second. Sure, I will. I mean, Mookie Betts is like Pete Rose. He'll do whatever the team needs him to do to win the game. And so, and he's kind of like a mini Willie Mays. I mean, the guy does everything well, and he's a good dude. Freddie Freeman is a good guy. Freddie Freeman is a great hitter. He's a great baseball player. He hustles. They're not signing dudes like a particular third baseman in San Diego who don't run balls, run hits out. They sign guys who hustle. They sign guys who work counts. They sign guys who are good in the community.
It's funny you say that because when Corey Seager went down, they signed Machado and put him at short.
Oh yeah, well
they didn't just get a fill-in; they got Machado.
Yeah. I mean, he was a fill-in though for this. Yeah, they didn't sign him long term, right?
No. But I mean, they went. They got a major player.
Yeah.
Corey Seager, man, I was a big fan of his from day one. I think he's a really talented ball player.
Seager?
Yeah, I was sorry he wasn't in that World Series. I would have liked to see him on that team. To be honest,
he's got injury problems. I mean,
I know.
Hip labrum surgery, shoulder. The kid's a doubles machine.
The Rangers are not complaining though. He helped them get their first championship.
He's a nice hitter.
He's a really good hitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, James, what do you feel as a Yankee fan? Do you feel like that they've done enough to continue in the AL? I mean, I know everybody's like, oh, they're going to compete with the Dodgers, but you got to get there. You got to win your division. Have the Yankees done?
They're actually rated by statisticians to have an improved team from last year, and they made it to the World Series last year because their lineup is now a little bit more even keeled as opposed to top heavy last year. I just don't know what they're going to do at second base. They're talking about moving Chisholm, who played a great third base last year, in a cup of coffee. They're talking about having him at second and maybe LeMahieu at third. And I'm like, LeMahieu, his best days are behind him. I don't want to see him there.
Wasn't Chisholm a natural second baseman now? Didn't they move him to third?
Well, he's a natural athlete. Like, the guy could play anywhere.
But I mean, he came up as a second baseman, didn't he?
Yeah. And then they moved him to center field.
You're gonna have the Diamondbacks first baseman. You're gonna have the Diamondbacks second baseman, Chisholm and Goldschmidt. Like, this is just terrible. But anyway,
my question is, if the Dodgers have all this money to do this now, why didn't they do this sooner?
They had to get out of a lot of contracts, and they probably held on to people like Cody Bellinger to see what transpired with them, and when they didn't pan out, they just went to Plan B.
Hey, where did he go?
He
Didn't
went
somebody
to the
sign?
Yankees.
Oh, that's right, the
He
Yankees.
went to the Cubs and then the Yankees.
Yeah,
I mean,
he went to the He's going to the Yankees this year,
Yeah.
though, right?
I have a theory about that. What you just said, like, why did the Dodgers suddenly do this now?
Yeah.
It's because when you don't win for a long, long time, and suddenly you win, you really recognize how much money can be made by winning. Like the Cardinals here were like this, the Arizona football Cardinals. They wouldn't even they would never spend money up to the cap. They were terrible. Bidwell's terrible owners, especially old Bidwell. And then what happens is they stumble upon Kurt Warner as a retread quarterback. They happen to have Bolden and Fitzgerald, and all of a sudden they're really good. They almost beat your Steelers in the Super Bowl. It was close, but that taught young Bidwell, we can make money because if we win, we'll sell jerseys, we'll sell tickets, we'll sell all kinds of stuff. The Dodgers hadn't won a World Series, since '88, right? And then all of a sudden they won during the COVID year. They spent some money, they got bets, and it's like now that it's just starting this thing where they're just winning. And when you're winning, you're selling jerseys, you're selling tickets. More than that, there's so many more ways to market yourself now.
Going back to that Super Bowl, I was telling everybody, I said, what's going to be sad in this Super Bowl is if the Steelers lose, it will be because another Pittsburgh guy beat us. Because I knew it would be Fitzgerald, right? And he tried like hell with that 60-some yard touchdown catch. But the Steelers do that shit all the time. They dominated that game start to finish, and then they give up one big play at the end.
They did not dominate that game. Warner
They dominated that game.
James Harrison got lucky and intercepted that pass before halftime.
Oh, okay.
The Cardinals would have had the lead at halftime. Come on, man. And then at the end of the game, I can't even get into this.
They dominated that game.
Oh, my God. If they played that game 10 times, the Cardinals would win like 7 of them.
Oh, my God. You're smoking crack.
You guys already have it.
Was it the referees that ruined that game for you, George?
There's the play. Okay, so Larry scores his touchdown. The Cardinals got the lead by 3 with about 2 minutes left or so. You guys get the ball. Roethlisberger gets the ball, right? 2009 Super Bowl. I was there in Tampa. That's how I know about the Yankee Stadium. I went to the game, and I was hanging out outside having a beer up high looking at the Yankees Stadium there, the spring training facility. It's awesome. Anyway, so 2 minutes left. Roethlisberger throws the ball to Santonio Holmes on an out route. Our safety, Aaron Francisco, randomly falls down on the ground, and he runs for an extra 30 yards. You can watch it. And this just starts this flood. And then, at the end, Holmes makes that unbelievable catch.
Well, he dropped the first one. And he came back to the huddle, and he said, I got it. Send it. Throw it to me again.
Yeah. It was not good. And then we saw time at the end of the game. I thought we were going to go to overtime. I thought you guys would get 3, and we have the first Super Bowl overtime. But instead they got 7. Then Warner had a chance for a Hail Mary at the end of the game and just didn't get it off. And Todd Haley even said that Larry was open near the goal line, and if he threw it, Larry probably would have caught it. But
yeah, I knew if we lost, it would be because of Larry. Great receiver, and the Steelers always had a hard time stopping those good receivers. They'd always give up that one big play.
Well, I think he had 2 touchdowns that game, if not 3, but it was quite a few. But you're right. Yeah, it was another Pittsburgh guy. But
hey, so I had an interesting thought. So, in 1971, the Pittsburgh Pirates put together the all-black lineup. Do you think the Dodgers are going to be the first team here soon to put together an all-Japanese lineup?
Oh, my God. Come on.
How many? Seriously, didn't they sign 4 Japanese players?
Well, it seems like the Japanese players don't do quite as well as position players, right? Yamamoto has a massive contract, by the way. It's all guaranteed, too. But they tend to do better as pitchers, right? But as pitchers, too, they tend to flame out after a while. Nomo came in and flamed out. A lot of Irabu, Tanaka.
Well, they can make a deal for Kwan. That guy's a hitting machine.
Hey, Hideki Matsui.
He can play the field, too.
Yeah.
Hideki Matsui and Ichiro, the 2 best Japanese.
Yeah. And they got Matsui later on.
I liked Matsui. I liked Matsui a lot.
Hey, 09 World Series MVP.
So you think Matsui, if he came over sooner, you think he could have been a Hall of Famer?
Oh yeah,
Perhaps, yeah.
yeah, because he was doing it towards tail end of his career. Imagine in his prime, like
back then, until Ichiro, Ichiro kind of changed the whole dynamic, because until Ichiro, nobody ever believed the Japanese player could play over here, right?
Yeah,
they would say, it's a Japanese league.
Well, and
they would.
He was the
like
perfect.
There were people that say that Sadaharu couldn't play over here.
He was the perfect. Ichiro, though, was the perfect type of player. That was the thought, right? The home run fences are shorter there. They don't have as much power. Physically, they're not as big. They can't hit it as far. But Ichiro was like, a Rod Carew, and he had speed, and he had a defense. I think he used to say in batting practice, he could hit a home run if he wanted to anytime. Just like they said, Rod Carew could do the same thing. But like Ichiro just did everything. He wasn't a power hitter, but he did everything well, real well.
Did I tell you? Did I tell you what Lou Piniella told me about Ichiro?
but
So they signed him and they sent him to Lou Piniella. So he said he was in spring training, and he sent Ichiro up to bat. So Ichiro slapped one into right field. So the next time up, Ichiro slapped one into left field, and so his interpreter, I guess, he asked Lou Piniella, "What do you think?" And he told the interpreter, he's like, "Well, he can hit these singles. Can he hit a home run? Does he have any power?" Is what he said. Does he have any power? And the next time up, he hit a home run. And he came back and he said to Lou Piniella in English, "Is that good?" He said, "You happy now?" or something like that.
I wonder, like,
I screwed that story all up.
No, I'm laughing on the inside, John.
I'm just wondering how many more hits he got because he was lefty and he got out the box so fast.
Yeah,
like his average, yes, it was helped and aided by that, and he made a master art out of getting out the box and earning a hit that way. But is he the same hitter had he been a righty? Like, I'm just curious.
Who cares? He got on base all the time.
But guys don't like. You admire the fact that he did that. You don't see guys do that now. Carew did that with bunting. Rose did that. All these lefties took advantage of that. Even Boggs, as slow as he was, hit over that. Like you take advantage of it, right? Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I think he got probably a couple hundred extra hits because he did that. But because he was at least 2 steps already to first base. But he
was a tough out, boy.
Yeah, I mean, when you really think about 262 hits, I mean, I know it's not an unbreakable record, but boy, that's tough.
Nowadays, it's going to be even tougher.
Yeah, and I mean,
well, he got all those hits coming up when he was 27 years old. That's insane.
Well, it was good for him because around that time is the prime, right? The prime is truly probably like 25 to 30. So he was right there in the wheelhouse and, had his best season at the beginning. Or one of the best.
No doubt, but to amass that many hits. When
I guess only
27 years old.
Yeah. Did anybody ever find out who the Nimrod was who didn't vote for him?
I don't think we'll ever know, will we?
Is it all anonymous? I mean,
isn't it ridiculous? Like, do you just not like him? Like, do you know anything about baseball?
Yeah, you said it on our text thread, John. You're like, that guy doesn't deserve to have a Hall of Fame vote.
No, he doesn't. But hey, Stan Musial, Babe Ruth, Honus Wagner, Ty Cobb, throughout history, nobody gets 100%. It's just it's a bit ridiculous. Somebody didn't vote for Tom Seaver. I think 2 people. Somebody didn't vote for Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, like 3 people didn't vote for Ken Griffey Jr. But there was a voter, I'm not saying for this ballot, but in previous ballots, there was someone who they interviewed and they asked them, why is it that they don't vote for shoe-in Hall of Famers? And he says, because if I have a sense that they're definitely getting in, then I want to help the another guy from meeting the minimum to roll over.
Well, that's so very generous of that person. I mean, we're voting for our own Hall of Fame on YouTube right now. I mean, I don't particularly choose to take that voting stance when I'm voting for the YouTube Hall of Fame. I'm going to vote for the people that I believe should be in, and I'm not going to say, well, boy, I could mention people, but like this guy's going to get in, so I'm not going to vote for him.
Yeah,
it's not the way I approach it because I show the respect to that person. I mean that this is YouTube Hall of Fame, whatever. But like that's just disrespectful to Ichiro. It's disrespectful to Jeter, and they don't have to vote for him. Like you said, John. Some guys. It's changed now, right? It's all changed with like, the fact that 100% even was something that happened. Back
it never happened.
It never happened.
Well, hell, Joe DiMaggio didn't even get in on first ballot.
Yeah,
those guys were smoking crack.
Yeah, but they were trying to they had a backlog of guys, right? That's the thought. But
yeah, well, I don't know why they do what they do. The important thing is he's in. And, I found it kind of refreshing that somebody got 100% of the vote, to be honest with you. I always found it, I don't know how it works and what their strategy is for voting, but I know as a fan, when you hear that not everybody voted for Babe Ruth or something, that's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Who wouldn't vote for Babe Ruth?
That's crazy.
It's absurd.
Yeah.
Willie Mays or Hank Aaron or any of them.
I just wonder if Pujols is going to get the same treatment because for me he's a sure-in.
Yeah, he's a sure-in, no doubt.
100%. It has to be.
You could argue with Ichiro that this is the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. This is not the Global Hall of Fame. So in Major League Baseball terms. Joe Posnanski's Baseball 100, he has Ichiro as number 100. So, he's taking into account his stats, his major league stats. I get that. But I mean, so with that argument, Pujols has done everything. Did everything in the game, right? I mean, he's the most prolific hitter since Henry Aaron. Well, since Bonds. Sorry. But I mean, so he's got 700 home runs. I mean, there's no you can't have that argument with Pujols. You can't say, well, 1/3 of his stats are from Japan.
No, he is in elite company with his home runs.
Yeah.
Elite company.
And RBIs. I mean, he's in the top
average.
7 in RBIs or something.
Did he end up with 300 average?
Don't think so.
A hair underneath, probably.
Yeah, he was so up there before, right?
The first 10 years of his career, he would have been way up there.
Yeah, I think his Angels years brought him down underneath. Really bad year. Like his third to last year, he hit like 240 or something.
Yeah, 296.
Well, the DH just by its nature isn't a high batting average position to bat in, right? You're basically swinging for the fences as a DH, in most cases.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll just put a solid hitter in there for playoffs or whatever, but in most cases, right? That's my idea of a DH. You're up there swinging for the fences.
It's true. Like, would you ever see
I guess
someone that could get on like a leadoff DH or something?
No, like you're not going to see that because if they can fly like that, they're probably great in the field.
Was Shohei
Ohtani's a leadoff DH, isn't he?
Yeah. And Schwarber almost. Right?
Oh,
yeah, you're right, George. Ohtani's as close as you get to that. You're right.
Schwarber plays what? First?
Yeah. By the way, who?
Schwarber. He was leading off last year.
He played left field. He played left field, but now he's just DH. But yeah, I just, John, my thought about Schwarber and like Dave Kingman. If Dave Kingman played today, well, boy, he might hit leadoff and he might get paid a guaranteed $300 million.
Dude, he'd probably go to the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's the strategy today. Okay. Like his strategy is today's strategy. And when he hit a home run, God, did he hit a home run? Like they were out of the stadium.
Oh,
How about 20
And he
years
did it
ago?
everywhere. He played a lot.
Adam Dunn, he hit 260, which is a little bit better than the swing and miss hitters. Like, and he hit bombs, like serious bombs.
Dude, I lived in Cincinnati for like 5 years, and I went to a lot of Reds games. And every single Reds game I went to, he hit at least one home run. I swear, every one I went to. He
Dude,
was, man, he hit some bombs.
I went to City Field, and that bridge they have in the outfield, he hit it over there. And I stood at that bridge, and I looked at home plate, and it looked like an ant. It was so tiny on plate. I just couldn't believe he reached the bridge from that distance.
Yeah. They had
I think he has a long.
That's when I became a Brandon Phillips fan, because he was nice too. He got hits every game I went to.
Yeah, I'd say, speaking of Brandon Phillips, Lou Whitaker needs to get in with the.
A lot of people say that.
He has to.
So as time goes on, you know, when we were growing up, you had those shortstops that were fantastic fielders, you know, contact hitters, mostly low batting average. Like, the game has changed so much. You would have those leadoff hitters that were just like single hitters who could fly. Now you have you know, Ohtani leading off, Acuna leading off, Scherzer leading off. You have shortstops that can hit, you know, 40 home runs, and second baseman the same way. The reason I'm saying this is because Lou Whitaker played in the old school. He was an old school second baseman, right? As time goes on, I mean, how do you think people are going to look when they're just looking at his stats?
It's going to be the era they played in. I mean, it's like basketball. I love my 90s and 2000 basketball, and I kind of laugh when I look at this basketball. It's just night and day.
Oh, I know. But you know, I mean, what I'm trying to say is, or ask is, like, out of sight, out of mind. Like, will he ever be considered?
The Eras Committee won't forget him, because the people voting for them are people that played alongside, and they know how good he was.
Who, Lou Whitaker?
Yeah, Lou Whitaker. And he's saying
there's so many other guys that are deserving before Lou Whitaker in my mind. I mean, I just like.
Well, this Hernandez is going to get in the next Era Committee, and possibly Mattingly. Like, they're saying that the next Era Committee voting, they're saying that Keith Hernandez and Mattingly are the two next up that might get in.
I mean, come on. You know, I love Don Mattingly. And he played at a Hall of Fame level for like 6 years to 7 years, right? But I mean,
definitely.
Dale Murphy was one of the best players in the National League for 5-6 consecutive years.
Oh,
I mean,
Dale Murphy didn't bat in the 350s like Mattingly.
Dale Murphy won
back-to-back
MVPs.
No, I agree with you. He was
Don
a great
Mattingly
player.
won
I'm
one.
just saying, like, Mattingly was he was so good those years. Yeah. So good.
I know, but we're looking at like just a small sample size. Like, longevity matters. It matters.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Why does longevity matter?
I don't think it matters, because I think Bell should be in there, and he had like 10 good years. And that's,
no, but it's an honest question. Well, why should longevity matter?
I think 10 years is a solid, like.
I mean, if Thurman Munson didn't die and he could play another 10, he'd be in the Hall of Fame.
No, I believe Thurman Munson should be in, but, you know, 10 years is a good amount of time.
Yeah, they say 10 years, but there's still, how many people are in the Hall that only played 10 years? Like, Sandy Koufax is the only one I know of.
Well, they didn't have the UCL surgery then.
How about Kirby Puckett? How long did he play?
Probably 13
from 84
years.
Until, what, mid-90s?
Yeah, probably like 13 years. But if Puck hadn't gotten hit and then gotten glaucoma, Puck had a shot at getting like 3,800 hits, 4,000 hits. That dude was a hit machine. I mean, he had like 220 hits all the time. I mean, he was, and hitting three.
He was a good fielder too, man. He was like a bowling ball out there.
Yeah, he was good.
He didn't look like your typical fielder, but he was a good fielder.
Kirby Puckett to me is quote unquote what you refer to as a gamer. Like,
yeah,
he is a gamer. You can look up gamer. That's Kirby Puckett.
Yeah, and Puck again, he did, and I'm not trying to like be on the Puckett bandwagon of like he's the greatest of all time, but I mean he's one of the best players I've ever seen. The guy, look at his numbers. I mean, 330, 325, 325. I mean, and in big games he played big. He wasn't hurt. He was durable, other than when he got a hit in the eye and then he got glaucoma. What are you going to do about that? But back to your question, John, about why does longevity matter? I mean, it's how we judge who was the best. It's how we judge who was.
But you're not just because you played a long time doesn't. But that doesn't add to being the best, does it?
It does if you do it at a high level.
Yeah, if you play for a long time and you're consistent for a long time,
that doesn't make
Aaron.
But that doesn't make you the best. It makes you the best for a long period of time.
Well, yeah. No one considers Hank Aaron the best pound for pound like Willie Mays, but as compiled stat goes, he's the best with home runs aside from Bond. But
I mean, Albert Pujols
Willie Mays is the best.
Pujols here, he had
if you take Albert Pujols' second 10 years stats, and I've done this, I've sent them to people and say, is this a Hall of Famer? And they all say no. I mean, he should be in after 10 years, regardless.
So does Trout.
I mean, if he played 9 years, he should be in my opinion.
Yeah, and Trout
because he was one of the best.
Game.
But why are we so obsessed with just playing until you're so fat and you can't move and you got to be a DH so that you pad your numbers? And so why are we so obsessed with those total numbers?
Because they show what you've done. I mean, you can't remain in Major League Baseball unless you're a Major League Baseball player. It's a high level. There's people who flame out and they're out of the league in 10 years because they're not any good anymore. Dale Murphy had a precipitous drop. I love Murph as much as anybody, honestly. But, I mean, he had a precipitous drop, something he just couldn't hit anymore. And it's like, he had 7 really, really good years, maybe 8 or 9, and was one of the best in the game. But at the end of the day, Albert Pujols may have had a bad last 10 years, but his bad last 10 years are better than most people's best 10 years.
Yeah, look at Andrew Jones. He played like a really good 10 years, and then after that, it was off the cliff like a 220 hitter.
Yeah, if he just played 10 years, he'd probably be in.
Yeah.
I think playing longer hurt him. But like I said, it's longevity matters. I never understood why.
Well, I mean, this was like not even a thought.
I mean, that's what got Harold Baines in. Because when you take the total.
Tony La Russa got Harold Baines in. That's who got Harold Baines in, his influence.
Phil Necro, he's another one, longevity.
Well, then the changing in the game got those guys in. The change of the game where it's like all of a sudden now guys don't pitch complete games. Roy Halladay is like an unbelievable mutant, right? Because nobody goes more than like 7 or 6 innings. And then all of a sudden, so you look back and you're like, oh, and no offense, John, Bert Blyleven wasn't a Hall of Famer for a while. And Necro and some of these guys and Jim Cott. And then you look back in retrospect and you're like, wow, they have a lot of innings if we put today's standards on it.
Yeah, I mean, you could put Jim Cott in that. You could put Morris.
Jack Morris, yeah.
Jack Morris in that. There are probably a lot of guys that you could put in that category where the longevity is what got them in more than their dominance.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of disagree with that too. I mean, I believe you look at a person like that dude's a Hall of Famer. Like you just know, right? You're like, it's if it's a question, you're like, well, maybe not.
Well, if it's so obvious, why did it take Jim Cott so long to get in? Or many of the other. I'm not picking on him because he was a good pitcher. I'm just saying, like, what he played over 4 decades, didn't he?
Yeah, our perception of pitchers changed. And if you put Jim Cott in today's standards, he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, and it's the Veterans Committee too, right? I mean, you have guys in the committee who played with him. Carew and Oliva and those guys, they all played with him, right? They were pulling for him. I don't know if there's an answer to it. I just, some guys are obvious Hall of Famers. Some guys aren't. I know Lou was going off on Billy Wagner and who, again, I agree with Lou, frankly. I'm not saying Billy Wagner should be a Hall of Famer because he's the best left-handed closer of all time. My son ran up to me today and said, Billy Wagner got in. Well, that means Aroldis Chapman is going to get in too. And I couldn't say no to him.
Well, to Lou's point, K-Rod definitely has to get in now because
I loved him.
K-Rod had better seasons than Billy Wagner ever did.
You remember that his rookie year when he went up, they went up against the Giants and beat them?
Who's that?
K-Rod.
Oh, K-Rod? Yeah, K-Rod was good.
Yeah, his rookie season when I fell in love with that Angels team for some reason. I don't know why. I just loved that team.
You were a rally monkey yourself, huh? Going crazy.
I tell you, I don't know what it was. I just I mean they weren't loaded with superstars. They were kind of like I don't know how they won the World Series. They were just clicking as a team.
Yeah,
and they had some nice players.
Yeah, Erstad, I really liked players.
Oh, I really liked him and Garrett Anderson.
Yeah,
and who was their catcher that year?
Was it Napoli?
No. Is it Benji?
Oh, Benji Molina, I think.
Yeah.
And then Lackey, I think John Lackey was a good pitcher for them. He was their ace.
And then they have Weaver.
Man, that's when I got to know K-Rod though.
Yeah, K-Rod was good.
He pitched so great there.
The Yankees couldn't beat that team, man. That team outsmarted the Yankees on everything, man. That team.
That's why it was so great because they didn't have these superstars. They weren't loaded like the Dodgers or something. They just played as a team. It reminded me of the '79 Pirates, although they had two fantastic superstars. The rest of the team was all like scrapped together and it was like when you needed a hit, Phil Garner would get a hit. You know, a guy batting 260 would come up with a big hit. Like they were truly a team. We
woke up Dylan. He hasn't chimed in for like an hour, and now we mentioned the Angels team. And he blew up the chat.
I loved that team, man.
That team was great. That rally monkey, I wanted to shoot it, but that team was great.
Oh, who was the shortstop? Eckstein,
yeah.
Eckstein.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
He was
I'm
a
not
scrappy player.
I'm not trying to be like, oh, I memorize the team, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, there's a bunch of good baseball players here. Yeah, you had Eckstein and Sean Figgins. He was good.
Oh, yeah, Figgins.
Troy Gloss. Adam Kennedy is a good baseball player. I mean, the bench coach was Joe Madden. You know, Sosha, the manager, Erstad, Tim Salmon, Garrett Anderson. I mean, just good baseball players.
And what was the rotation?
Oh, absolutely, they were good baseball players. I'm just saying they didn't have like these mega stars.
Yeah, but like guys who could guys who could hit, run the bases, field, you know, just good all around. Like they weren't like, I mean, Gloss is maybe an exception, but like not a bunch of one-trick ponies, you know?
Yeah.
They had John
Garrett Anderson was good for a few years.
Oh, he was a good hitter, professional.
Yeah, he's got a lot of hits. I think he's got like over 2,000 hits, I think. 23.
Troy Percival. I forgot about him.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about him, too.
Yeah,
he was dominant.
K-Rod and Percival in the same bullpen. That's great.
Oof. Who was the starters? It was John Lackey. Who else?
Jared Washburn.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
He was good.
Yeah. Ancient Kevin Apier.
Oh, wow.
Kevin Apier.
Scott Schoenweiss. Aaron Seeley, who was older at the time. Yeah. Ramon Ortiz. Yeah, I think it was mostly, like Apier, Lackey, Seeley, Washburn. Good bullpen. Benji Molina the catchers were Benji Molina, Sal Fasano, and Jorge Fabregas, all like seasoned, like good catchers, like just not hitters, but just good guys who can catch a good game.
I only ever remember Benji catching.
Yeah, I think Benji caught most of the time.
That was when Benji was the best Molina until Yadier finally caught up.
Yeah. I mean, listen to these coaches. They had Sosha, but then they got Bud Black's the pitching coach, Alfredo Griffin's first base, Mickey Hatcher's the pitching coach, Joe Madden's the bench coach, and Ron Renicke's the third base coach. I mean, those are like smart baseball guys.
So that was
Veteran
like
guys.
a high IQ team. They were run with high IQ, and they outsmarted everyone basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, Socha was always trying to take extra bases. Like always, he didn't care if he got thrown out. And that wasn't like a team full of speedsters. Figgins is the fastest guy, probably.
Was
Yeah,
that
they could all play though.
was that a dynasty? Like those 3 years they dominated, a mini dynasty, you think?
Well, I mean, they just won it in 2022, right?
But they
I'm
were
sorry.
always, they were always in the playoffs for
2002.
like 4 years. It seemed like they were always in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting too, because I thought for a second Jim Edmonds was on the team too, but then he was on, I think, on St. Louis or something.
Yeah, he
It's
wasn't on the team at that time.
Yeah, he's a Gold Glove center fielder. So.
Oh man, I love to watch him play center field.
He was great. It was good to see him shine with Pujols.
You know who was another fun rookie around that time was Dontrell Willis.
Oh man,
he was fun to watch.
Yeah,
he had that big leg kick.
That 03 team with Dontrell, Josh Beckett. Oh, they had a team. That team. Who was the other ones? AJ Burnett. That was a team, man. Yeah,
AJ Burnett, man. When I didn't get to watch him pitch a whole lot until he came to the Pirates. Man, he pitched well for us.
He was big too. He had a big fastball.
He was a good pitcher.
Yeah, but that team. Oh, they had Livan Hernandez.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was good. Man, that was a good team. And then they had to break it up right after they won the World Series. That's it. We gave it a shot. Time to save money again.
Oh, didn't they did that twice, right?
Yeah.
They did it twice. I'm like, the Marlins have more World Series than the Diamondbacks, and they just break it up.
Yeah, they beat the Indians, break it up, and then they beat who was it?
They beat the Yankees, didn't they?
Oh, they beat the Yankees, my team. What am I
Sorry.
saying? Thanks for I got cold.
Hey James, guess what I'm looking at?
Oh Jesus.
A Josh Beckett autographed hat.
Gary Sheffield on the Marlins team. He's
So, hey,
to be a Hall of Famer.
I know we've been on there a while.
Is Sheffield a Hall of Famer?
I believe he should be.
Why do you think he's not?
Because they think he's linked to steroids because of his boy Barry Bonds helping him with the clear. Try this on, Sheffield. He was
that whole era. I mean, it's just like it's funny because all those guys saved baseball. Like nobody was watching it. They saved baseball, and none of them are getting in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but Sheffield got a raw deal because he became enemies to Bonds. He basically cut him off after he found out that whatever that clear was ended up being
well for Chef, and I don't know Chef personally, but the perception of Chef was he was kind of a jerk, and so that didn't help him either, right?
He was surly, not a jerk, but just surly.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of saving baseball, John, you're talking about that, but I mean, have you guys seen the special Long Gone Summer? And I believe, I'm not sure it was on Netflix, but it was about the home run chase of '98. It came out maybe about 6 months after The Last Dance, a year after The Last Dance.
Yeah, I remember it.
I heard of it. I never watched it.
I mean, just watching it just brought me back so much to that summer of '98 and just the good feelings, you know. Yeah. I mean, I know there's a shadow of steroids and all that over this, but watching that and just remembering I hadn't felt like that about baseball since since Don Mattingly and Ricky Henderson were doing it in New York in 1985.
It was so exciting. I mean, people that never even watched baseball were watching.
You know what was so great? That was before social media and internet boomed. So people relied on talking and newspapers and watching the news to see the highlights, to see who's got the lead now, because
right.
neck and neck for a while. So it became more talked about because everyone wanted to know who's got now. What?
Well, if I remember correctly, Sammy Sosa was the first one to get the attention, right? That's how I remember it. And we were all watching Sammy, and then McGuire just got away with it.
McGuire lead for a
No,
while.
do I misremember
No,
that?
it was from what I remember from the special. I'm not remember like it was McGuire got the attention, but Griffey had the big attention, and Griffey and McGuire were like on like this ridiculous pace, and then all of a sudden Griffey either started to fade or got injured.
Oh, he got hurt.
He got hurt, and then all of a sudden Sosa comes out of nowhere and just starts taking over, and then he takes over the lead.
Oh man, I don't even remember Griffey being in that race.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, he was gonna put up an all-time career year that year.
Was he on steroids?
No,
Absolutely not.
Why does everybody always say absolutely not? How the hell could you possibly know who was on steroids and who wasn't?
No, don't talk about Griffey like that.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
we you don't know.
James's hat is backwards for a reason on every episode.
Exactly.
I will tell
It's just
he helped-
that
he
was the
helped
era.
Oakland
I suspect there are way more people that were on it than you know, because they're not taking steroids and then becoming bodybuilders. They're not all gonna look like Barry Bonds did.
Well, I think yes, there's more people than is known, but will we ever know? No, unless someone comes out with some tell-all book other than Jose Canseco and really shows proof. But we're all playing devil's advocate at this point. People saying Mike Piazza was on it, Frank Thomas, and
people have very
on
strong
steroids,
opinions
dude.
on who was on it.
No.
And
The only one
so and so was on it, but we don't know.
in the Mitchell report.
We know some of the people that were on it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, I guarantee you, there's way more that were on it that you don't know about.
of course,
And they made all kind of different steroids to do different things.
right?
And I remember guys dabbling in that in high school and stuff. And you could take a certain kind of steroid and it would bulk you up, and there was another one that would cut you, trim you down and get all cut up, and there were all kind of different ones.
And to George's point, right after the 98 summer of 98, then they did the Balco documentary, and then you could see the Olympians and Bonds and all these people attached to that group. It's scary if he came out with that laundry list of names who he supplied.
Yeah. You remember, do you guys know about that? There was a track incident where the coach was giving them horse steroids, the track team, like the sprinters and stuff.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I remember Ben Johnson getting popped after he broke the record.
I think that was the team. I think he was on horse steroids.
Yeah.
I was laughing so I had to laugh when I heard they were horse steroids. I was like, what?
But he looked enormous. He looked huge. He doesn't look like Usain Bolt, where he looks like fleet-footed. Like Ben Johnson was huge.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you look at sprinters, they don't look like long-distance runners. I mean, even the women are cut. They're muscular, getting all that HGH out of you when you sprint. No, sprinters they're all muscular like that.
What I was going to say about the steroid thing was in the Mitchell report, I read the whole Mitchell report. I was like totally into this whole thing. And Mitchell wanted to talk to 5 guys. He wanted to talk to Bonds, Clemens, Sosa, McGuire, and Frank Thomas. And the only one who would talk to him for the report was Frank Thomas. And he talked about the interview, and he's talking to Frank Thomas. And Frank Thomas is like, I got nothing to hide. I've been this size since I was in 8th grade.
Yeah. He's still the same size.
Yeah, he's still, and that's when you'd watch him. Oh, the big hurt, because he's hurting the ball. It wasn't like, one day he came in the league and he was 165 pounds. And then, 15 years later, he's 225 pounds of solid muscle. Who knows what everybody did, but.
Well, the thing is that, it exacerbates it, too, in that a lot of guys put on a lot of weight as they get older. I mean, if you compare like Willie Stargell when he came up till the end of his career, his last 7 years or whatever, Willie McCovey, Albert Pujols, Albert Pujols was thin when he came up. So you have that natural weight added to a lot of guys. And then if you're on with Barry Bonds, if he was on it, then you have that. So what I'm saying is A lot of guys come into the league skinny and put on weight over the years. That was my point.
And then Ivan Rodriguez was huge, and then the report comes out, and then he comes back 20 pounds lighter. He looks deflated. That was weird.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but
Well,
he's a Hall of Famer too.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, there's Bagwell was I mean, the only
Bagwell
one.
now he was built like a bodybuilder, I think.
I don't know. I just know that he was super muscular. I mean, Piazza was big. I mean, and Poppy tested positive, but we like him, so he's in.
Right.
Other guys, they're not perceived to be as nice as Big Poppy. How can you not like Big Poppy? All this stuff. He's on TV. He's yucking it up and even now you watch him, and there's A-Rod, there's Big Poppy, and whoever else, and you're like, man, I like Big Poppy. He's a fun guy, right? Even now, and you watch A-Rod, and you're like, man, that guy's he's got an attitude. Even now, it doesn't help him. It's weird how this is all, likability. It's amazing.
Well, listen, man.
All right, guys.
We've been on for 2 hours, man.
Yeah, I gotta get going.
Yes. Thank you all for joining us to another Hobby Hump Day. George, thank you for the late coming in and wanted to talk Hall of Fame. John, thank you for joining. Everyone that was chiming in with the chats, thank you for joining. We'll try to be on next week if everything breaks right. Right, guys?
Is anybody still watching?
Yeah, 23 people on still.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
Maybe they're. Well, it's Hall of Fame talk. I mean,
we didn't scare them. We didn't. There's 23 people we didn't scare away.
Yeah,
and
we didn't bore. We didn't bore to death.
Exactly, and congrats to 2X Yankees, Ichiro and CC Sabathia. Congratulations, guys.
All right, guys. I'll see you
Later, guys.